What's up, everybody? Joshua here with Heath Corson. You might not know, but he's actually the writer of several DC animated movies. Got Justice League War under your belt.
Justice League War.
Batman Assault on Arkham.
Yep.
And the upcoming Justice League Throne of Atlantis movie.
Yes. Number 3.
Which is currently out on digital, but it's coming out on the hard release, the DVD and Blu-ray, on January 27th.
27th.
So,
Get in there. Buy it now.
Buy, yeah. So I really want to hear about this movie. I guess my big question is, to start, was Aquaman always the main character of the second film? Were you always building towards that? Do you always have that in mind?
Yes. We knew from the end of Justice League War that we were going to make Aquaman the basically the center of the next one.
Yeah, with that little stinger
With
scene.
the little stinger scene, right? So we wanted to tease it a little bit. And then I was just campaigning to do it because I was like, well, I want a chance to write Aquaman. Like, I didn't get to write him in Justice League War, so I was like, let me do this one. So I was super excited when they called and they were like, okay, let's start talking about ideas for what that could be.
Very cool. And Aquaman he's always the butt of a lot of jokes, right?
Family Guy has done a number on Aquaman, right?
Yes.
Family Guy, Robot Chicken.
Yes.
Everyone is just sort of really smushed down Aquaman.
He's the go-to guy when you want to make fun of a superhero, right?
I know.
So that must have been a really big challenge for you. So what did you do to make Aquaman cool and relatable and the star of a film?
Yeah, it really was a challenge because we wanted to sort of smash all those perceptions. So one of the major things I did was sort of go back to what is the core of this guy. And I really liked the notion of stranger in a strange land. This is a guy who's doesn't feel comfortable anywhere. He's got one foot in 2 different worlds. He doesn't know it yet in the beginning of the film. And that seemed like a really interesting place to start the character's journey and have him with this really emotional core of anger. And he's just a frustrated, sort of angry guy who in the very beginning has lost his father. So he's completely untethered. He's just sort of floating, so to speak. And he's looking for some consistency in his life, and he doesn't know where he belongs. So that became where we started with Arthur Curry, who at the beginning is not Aquaman. He's not aware of his Atlantean heritage. So it was a really neat place to be able to have this cool guy to begin with, who then we see grow into this very awesome hero.
Yeah, and for what base did you use on Aquaman? Did you go to the comic books? Were you given guidelines of what they wanted him to be like, and how did you give Aquaman the voice you wanted to give him?
Well, I'm a big comic book guy, so obviously we started with Jeff Johns' great run on Aquaman and what he's done to the character, and we knew that was going to be where the character was going to eventually land. We had to back into that guy. But before that, I was a big fan of Peter David's run on Aquaman with the hook hand Aquaman. I thought that was really cool, and that was a real sort of Viking, angry, brutish character who was a great leader, but also just a real frustrated guy, brutal. And so a lot of that filtered its way into this version of Arthur Curry, who, if you've seen the film, ends up being a really good brawler.
Yeah, totally.
Arthur's a brawler in this movie. He starts in a bar fight. Which is kind of fun.
Yeah, and there's that awesome scene with the knife, and it doesn't quite work out.
Doesn't work. And even Arthur says, I've always wondered about that. I wonder how strong my skin really was. So that was neat to be able to play all that stuff.
Yes, very cool. And, as far as, this is a Justice League movie.
Yes.
But it's introducing Aquaman. So how were you able to service all the characters, and make sure Batman had a moment and Green Lantern had a moment while still making sure that Aquaman's at the core and you fulfill his story?
Yeah, that's a challenge because you don't always get a chance to have every single character get a lot of screen time. I try to give everybody their own moment, but there's still guys that have sort of been in the background that I didn't get a chance to really play with this time. In Justice League War, we had a lot of Batman Green Lantern dynamic, which was fantastic.
Yes.
And now in this one, we have some Superman, Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, you brought that in the romance.
We have a romance. As my nephew said, too much kissing in this movie. He's like, too much love story. And I was like, all right. But I really haven't gotten a chance to do some really good Flash stuff yet. I really want to go back and do Flash. I really like the Cyborg Shazam relationship that we started with Justice League War and being able to continue that. So it's really fun to be able to play all those dynamics, and I got to sort of match people up in different ways this time. Like, we get to see what happens when the investigative reporter and the world's greatest detective go off together. You know, where it's the first sort of moment of Superman Batman when they're investigating together. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. We haven't seen that yet. So I wanted to sort of switch people around so that we could show all the dynamics. Because Aquaman gets such a major chunk of the film and the Atlantean storyline is so big, it's tough sort of getting everybody in there and making sure everybody gets some great moments, you know?
Sure.
Which is what we want. We come to it going, oh my gosh, I want to see what my favorite character gets their big moment.
Yeah, I want to see Flash do super speed punches and stuff.
I want to see Wonder Woman get like that big, awesome moment. I want to see Green Lantern do that awesome thing.
I'll say she was a bit of a scene stealer right alongside Mira, who people might not know, but Aquaman's like the female counterpart, we'll call her.
That's right. His love interest, as well as a very badass bodyguard for the Queen.
Completely, exactly the word I was going to use for her. Very badass, and you know, it almost it makes me wonder about the rating of this movie. We got PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
We get some cursing. We got a lot of violence and stuff. Is that something you have to like work around, or does that rating let you do everything you want to do?
It allows me to do everything I want to do, basically. Okay. And I think if there's anything that goes too far, there's plenty of people who will reel it back in the like 10 months that it gets animated.
So they cut out Superman's F-bomb you really wanted.
That's right. That's he would never. Superman would never. Of all of them, not Superman.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you know, before we wrap up, what's like the pitch for people who go, oh, Aquaman? I don't want to see an Aquaman movie. I mean, I like the Justice League, but I want to see Aquaman. What's your pitch for the movie to people to come watch this?
You know what? It's underwater Game of Thrones. It really is. It's Machiavellian. It's big. It's Shakespearean. The Atlanteans are a people that we haven't seen yet in these movies. So it's very, very cool. There's a lot of backstabbing, betrayal. It's all that awesome Game of Thrones stuff. It's Aquaman Begins.
Aquaman Begins.
Aquaman Begins.
Aquaman, or no, Justice League Game of Thrones of Atlantis.
Yes, there we go. Perfect.
Cool, very cool. Thank you so much, Heath.
No problem, Joshua. Thanks for having me.
So this movie will be, again, available on January 27th on DVD and Blu-ray. It's already available digitally if you want to go watch it. Justice League Throne of Atlantis. And for all things Justice League, keep it here on IGN.